move on to item one. I believe, I'm sure Councilman Staley is on his way in, but we need to excuse Councilman Nyson, who has had some surgery and is recuperating. We'll move on to item one, approval of the agenda.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the agenda as outlined.
Thank you. I have a motion. Do I have a second to approve?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second.
Turek, aye. Segmiller, aye. Truman, aye.
Item two, announcements. I only have one announcement to make. This week has been the Days of 47 Dixie, which is the Days of 47 celebration here in southern Utah. The main part of the activities are going to be Friday. I think they have things going all week, but Friday they will be having a pancake breakfast, a parade, booths and games, and all those celebrating our heritage. So we encourage all of you that would like to come to attend. Any other announcements? Okay, we'll move on to item 3, declaration of abstentions and conflicts. Any to declare at this time, gentlemen? Now we'll move on to our consent agenda to approve the minutes from the city council meetings of 7/7/12 and 7/8/15, 7/7/15 and 7/8/15. We'll need to make that change on that. Entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Seven 7/15 and 7/8/15.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second.
Truman, aye.
Staley, aye.
Segmiller, aye.
Turek, aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Those are approved. Item 5, dedication plat. Consideration to approve a road dedication plat for Country Way. Mike Shaw.
Mayor, Council, this is the road that extends from the bridge that is up Washington Dam Road. To the landfill. I don't think he's back. Been working with the property owner to acquire this and acquire it at no fee or millions of dollars.
So we're actually going to get to take that shortcut now, then, soon,
There you go.
or to the
There you go,
landfill?
Mike. One more time, just push it.
Oh,
Thanks.
there.
Yeah.
So we'll actually get to take that shortcut here soon? To the
Well, we
landfill?
still got to work on the south half.
Oh, the south half.
This will be basically the north side of the river.
This is just from the bridge up. It does not include any parts of the bridge at this point.
Well, it includes the north part of the bridge, basically from the center line of the river, the meander.
So if we can just jump over
Right.
half of the bridge?
Yeah, you'll just have to go really fast.
The one after we're entitled to the airspace above it either.
And we are working on the south side,
South side of
right,
the bridge,
at this time.
okay. Well, good. That's progress.
Yeah. Any questions for Mike on that? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
If no discussion, I'll make a motion. We approve a road dedication plat for Country Way as presented by Mike Shaw.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second.
Turek, aye.
Segmiller, aye.
Staley, aye.
Truman, aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's approved. Item 6, agreement. Consideration to approve a carbon-free power project siting agreement. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. We spent quite a bit of time on this last night, going through a lot of the details, but just for the benefit of the community, this is with regards to the carbon-free project, the nuclear project that Washington City will be a part of is with UAMPS. This first agreement is with regards to siting requirements. One of our partners, of course, is the Department of Energy, and as a requirement, we have to look at alternative sites for this particular place. Right now, it's anticipated that this will be located at the Idaho National Laboratory, just outside of Idaho Falls, but we have to go through a process, and so this is the first agreement, probably numerous agreements that will come to the city with regards to this. And again, just a reminder that as each budget is set on these at different times, there's the opportunity for the city or UAMPS to consider that this is not a project that they are interested in, and they can withdraw. So this is the first agreement, and staff would recommend council support on approving this study phase siting agreement.
And just obviously for the public out there, can you remind us all again of the actual cost for this first phase and half of it being paid by
Yeah,
grant?
thank you. The first phase is actually broke into 2 phases, so there's 2 phases of the first phase. It sounds like sounds like the Department of Energy is involved in this one. The first phase will be somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000. Now, that is not the city's portion. That's shared between all the participating cities. Washington City's portion of that would be somewhere around $20,000 with our subscription rate, or the amount of power we will ultimately be taking, which is, we're looking at approximately 11 megawatts or 11,000 kilowatts out of this facility once it's up and running, which it's anticipated to go online in 2024. It seems like a long time, but in these projects, they take a long time. And then if we do move into phase 2, which is the basically the site has been selected and needs to be certified, which means is there accessible water and other things. Then it will run anywhere between that phase will run anywhere for the entire group between $1.3 and $2.6 million. But the reason there's such a wide range there is that NuScale Corporation, which is the corporation who has the technology of these small modular nuclears, they are willing to participate up to half of the total 2.6. So that would cut ours down to 1.3 if there are certain conditions that we would allow them to incorporate, and we are still evaluating those as well as UAMPS. So it could cost UAMPS 1.3 with a partnership on some level with NuScale, or it could be 2.6 if it's determined that the partnership is not appropriate.
I'm just looking at the actual proposed agreement, Schedule 1, and it looks like Washington City's proposed contribution is 11,000. Is it 11 or is it 20?
That's actually, the 11,000 is kilowatts.
Oh, that's the kilowatts.
Yeah, so that's 11,000 kilowatts or 11 megawatts.
Roger, when we're talking about phasing, will it come back before this council before it moves into the next phase that would then obligate us on an additional sum?
Yeah, well, right now, this does incorporate phase 2 of the siding. However, there is still some discussion on whether we want to peel out phase 2 and put it in the power sales contract. And there's some advantages and disadvantages. We haven't just gone all through that. But both the phase 1 and phase 2 have to do with the siding, though. Okay. So this is agreement that says we commit to the siding. If we do choose to move it to the power sales agreement, that also is an off-ramp, because we chose to do that. If we choose to keep it within this agreement, then you're approving both those phases.
Okay, and this agreement is no different for our city than any of the other participants?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Those are all the questions I had.
Any other questions? Should we entertain a motion?
Mayor, I'll make the motion that the council approve a carbon-free power project siting agreement. In particular, that agreement which has been presented and discussed both last night and tonight, which is between UAMPS and Washington City.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second.
Turek, aye.
Segmiller, aye.
Staley, aye.
Truman, aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That's approved. Item 7, resolutions. Consideration to approve a resolution of the City Council of Washington, Utah, supporting the House Bill HB 362, authorizing 0.25% local optional general sales tax dedicated to transportation, encouraging the County of Washington to submit the proposal to voters November 2015, encouraging voters to support the proposal.
Council, as you'll remember, this, we discussed this a couple of weeks ago, and from this council's perspective, which has been pretty consistent since everybody here has been on an elected official, has been very conservative in terms of anything involving increases in taxes at all, because this one is this portion of House Bill 362 would raise the general sales tax except for food. The council was pretty consistent in their opinion that even though League of Cities supports it and a lot of communities support it because it goes straight to transportation needs, this council wanted to make sure that its position in encouraging the county commissioners to place on the ballot was simply that, just to put it on the ballot so that the voters and the electorate of our city, as long as the county had the chance to simply vote on it, make their own decision about whether or not this is going to be an imposed new increase in sales tax. And the resolution, our encouragement resolution has been made very clear. That's your position.
Yeah, I think it was you that did the work on this, Council Starkey, and just thank you. I think section 1 and 2 especially kind of have language that reflects how I feel, and I think most of this council feels, and as well as even your last whereas statement is another one that I think reflects what we discussed and makes it clear that we support sending this to the voters and letting them decide.
Yeah, and recognizing that our legislature approved it and allowed it to go to local governments to decide whether they wanted to have an election on it or not, and that it was specifically for transportation needs. And the thing about this portion of House Bill 362 is that unlike the about 5 cent tax in just gasoline sales that was the first half of House Bill 362, those have to be used specifically for B and C roadway needs. So it's limited to, you can't use it for alternative, any types of alternative transportation, for planning, for alternative transportations. Mike, what else make it, this particular tax, a little bit better? It gives us alternative avenues to use those fundings for it. Others are restricted. So the taxes on the gas itself is restricted on B and C road funds. Does that include maintenance of those roads then? But just those roadways, and but not for new roadway fund, no new roadway funding for the B and C? Okay. This gives us more options to use it. Mike has a lot better opportunity to use those funds than before. Some questions were asked early, I think a couple of weeks ago, about the 10% distribution. 10%, in effect, is 40% of what this increase would be of this 0.25% general sales tax would be, so roughly 40% would come back to the city. We had a question before, was 10% of the 25%? Is 10, so about 40% of that 25.25% comes back to the city. The rest goes to the county, the 15%.
I just got to say, you all know that I'm consistently opposed to tax increases, but where this is merely saying, let's let the voters decide, I think that's the proper place to have it decided, is among the people who be paying the tax. So let them have it, and our citizens decide what they want to do.
Yeah, I would agree. That's the thing I like about this is that it is the citizens that are making that decision. They have a chance to say to where they want that. That's why I think it's important that we encourage it, to put it out there for the citizens' vote.
Now, one thing to note was, almost unanimously, our locally elected state representatives and senators supported 362. And other cities in the county that have already passed resolutions support, not just encouraging the county to allow the voters to do it, but also supported the actual tax itself. St. George, Santa Clara, Ivan, Cocorelli thing, but I mean, those have already approved a similar resolution, sent it on to the county commission, just requesting them to allow it to go to the voters.
Any other discussion on this item? Not, I would entertain a motion on it. Anybody want to take a stab at it?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We approve a resolution of the City Council of Washington, Utah, supporting the HB 362, 2015, authorized 0.25% local optional general sales tax dedicated to transportation, encouraging the County of Washington to submit the proposal to voters in November 2015. And I guess, I'm not really saying encouraging voters to support it, but for voters to take a look at it and make a decision what they want to do.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second.
Truman, aye.
Staley, aye.
Sig Miller, aye.
Turek, aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Move on to reports. Any reports from your assigned committees? City ma- go ahead.
I'll make one report just off of our branding committee, that we hope to be here, not the next council meeting, but the following one, with some fleshed out branding pictures and we made a little shift after the feedback of the council, the last one. And hopefully, like I said, we have the IT department now working on those ideas that were fleshed out, and hopefully we'll have something in about a month to bring back to you to see what you think of the next one.
Thank you. Nobody else, will turn the time over to city manager report.
And I just have a couple of items that the council might find of interest. Our East Regional Water Line, this is the one that, of course, we talked about over the hill and through the woods and up the parkway, and that's now been energized. We energized that to test it, so it's not officially online yet, but the test ran really well, and it'll actually be kind of energized and functioning as of August 1st. So that's been a project we've been talking to you about and updating you on for several months, so that's now basically we'll almost call that fully completed at this point. It's a great project. I will only mention this only because of the storms. You know, of course, we've had the Buena Vista detention basins over here. We think that those detention basins will work well because the flood washed out part of the construction process over there. So some of their, seems like we're putting them in the right place. Some of the conduits, some of the boxes that they had installed, they've had to, so it's pushed them back just a little bit because it knocked them out. JP was right on site when we called them though, and they were really great to help get Buena Vista back open and those type of things.
Did we have any flooding come down Main Street from that? How were we affected up there?
Well, we had, what kind of happened is we of course brought, same scenario. We had the heavy rains up into the foothills, sheet flooded down to Buena Vista, which is, you know, what we're working on. And it came across more of the far side and then hit the flood basin, and the flood basin worked well. But of course it shot it down over and then hyper-energized the line coming back. So the drain we have at the top of Main Street, we had to close off because it was shooting up. And so just because, again, of the large volume so quickly, it just pressurized that line back, supercharged that line, yeah. So we had no homes. We had some standing water, of course, both out in the fields and here. It dissipated very quickly, but when it came down, we had some standing water in some areas, but
I was going to mention the 400 South improvements. There was a time I went down there, and we had the water running over through the trailers again, and it was just because there was some debris on the drains. But once we cleaned those grates off, it sucked all that water down and
yeah.
did a great job. And the neighbors down there were watching the detention pond at the dog park, but even that filled up to a level, and then it held its level after it started discharging as well. And so I'd say that those repairs did exactly what we'd hoped they would, and if you can keep the grates cleaned, they're going to be a very good addition.
Well, and what we do, just so you know, and our Public Works does a great job with that, but while you're mentioning that, I would just share that with the public too, is if you do see any of the storm grates that are covered, just take them off, clean them off. Pull it out of the gutter and even throw it up on the sidewalk is better.
I actually went down and talked with the neighbors there and those in Hobble Creek. I said, hey, these could have been cleaned an hour before, but one thing these storms do is they bring a lot of debris too.
Yeah.
So if it's raining hard, don't just assume that the city cleaned it an hour ago or a day ago, because a lot of times the floodwater clogs the grates themselves. And so just keep them monitored, because that'll serve you
And
well.
it's standard practice in the city that when we anticipate rain, we send the crews out to do a visual inspection of all those catch grates. Yeah, we commented on that too. 400 South looked like it did so good that the road stayed dry even during the deluge. It was sucking it off so fast.
It was,
So,
once the grates got cleared, it
Yep.
did excellent.
and then I would just mention, just an update on the Sullivan Soccer Park. I know I've talked to you about the walls being built. We showed that last time, but the sidewalks are now being poured. The lights have all been delivered. You may have seen the big Musco truck down there. All the lights have been delivered, and the bases will begin on Monday for the lights. and the plants are scheduled for August 27th. So when I start telling you the plants are scheduled, that means that we're starting to see the light at the kind of end of the tunnel of this thing.
Planting in September,
More than likely.
depending on weather.
Uh-huh. And of course, it's the contractors who're doing it, so we've got to keep that within their contract period, whenever that is, but then they'll also be responsible to just make sure that they stay alive and other things. And I think that's it, Mayor.
Thank you.
Hey, Mayor, is there any chance, you may not have seen it because they didn't wear their scout uniforms, but some scouts from I think from the Fields area, one of whom called and grilled the city attorney on some issues affecting the Fields area. At first, I was grilled on St. George's development of the commercial area over by the bridge, which I confirmed with them that you guys had nothing to do with that, and that then proceeded to do about a half an hour interview of the various issues, and they showed up tonight, and I want to know if you wanted to at least call them out so that their scout leader knew that they came, because it looked like they may have driven. Brisbane, did you drive tonight? Ah, I didn't think Brisbane was old enough to drive it, unless it's a new merit badge, but I don't know if you want to make them come up and just designate that they were here and which scout troop they're from.
Sure, come on up.
And I hope this will,
How about you other folks in the back, you scouts? We're glad you're here. Come on up, introduce yourself,
Right up to the
right
mic.
there,
right to the mic.
this will discourage you from calling me again, Brisbane.
I'm Brisbane Crowther, and I did interview Brother Starkey for my merit badge to know about the road and, just what you guys are gonna do about it. And now I know that you guys are gonna put the tax on the gas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don't be shy back there.
Teach them not to show up in their scout shirts, they won't get away with it anyway.
It doesn't say in your merit badge book that you'd have to introduce yourself, but when you come to this council, that's one thing that you get to, the main reason we do that is you can go home and watch yourself on TV, so,
Oh, I'm on TV.
yes, you are.
Hi, I'm Jason.
What troop are you in?
1784,
What ward?
Washington Fields, 10th Ward.
Thank you.
Jason's my next door neighbor
Is
down there,
he?
he's a darn good one.
That's the reason you call him up. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Now we'll get more.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Logan Hall, his brother. So I'm from Troop 1784. We're here for the community merit badge.
Good.
So yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you. How about you, young man? The next one.
Hi, I'm Tanner Hadlock, and I'm from Troop 1784, and I'm here to work on my citizenship in the community.
Great. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate that.
And my only regret is you picked a night when we're not ending at 10.
Yeah. We're setting a new record for shortness. All right, we do have a need to go to a closed session to discuss purchase, exchange, or lease of property. So I'll entertain a motion that we do so.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we adjourn to a closed session.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Motion and a second.
Truman, I.
Staley, aye.
Turek guy.
Thanks. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.